16 matches, 41 goals scored, 13 clean sheets, 4 goalless games, a brace from 6 players, 55 yellow cards, no red cards, 7 penalties awarded, 6 of those were converted and 1 was saved, 2 big upsets, 2 proper thrashings. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Soccer Theatre, and today I'll be having 2 guests for 2 different segments on the Soccer Theatre. My first guest is here with me, your favorite shirt man, Joker. Joker, welcome to the Soccer Theatre.
Thank you very much.
Alright, we'll start from the opening ceremony of the World Cup.
Alright.
And first of all, before we go into the matches proper, let's talk about the opening ceremony itself. We know before the World Cup kicked off, we saw Ronaldo and Messi. They did an advert for Louis Vuitton. How hard is it to get Ronaldo and Messi to be in the same place at the same time? The opening ceremony was very glamorous. There were very, big entrances and all of that. And then we also saw Morgan Freeman, the veteran actor. He was on the stage that day. And Morgan Freeman made a quote that day that got to almost everybody. He said, "We were raised to believe that we were scattered on this earth as nations and tribes, so that we could learn from each other and find beauty in our differences." Morgan Freeman said, "I can see it. What unites us here in this moment is so much greater than what divides us, and that is for a fact." Well, that's basically my highlights from the opening ceremony. Now let's talk about the matches in particular, and I'm having Joker here on set. Joker will join me to talk about Group A, Group B, C and D, and then my second guest will talk about the remaining groups. Now let's talk about the very poor record that Qatar has brought into this World Cup. They are the first host nation in the World Cup history, a World Cup of more than 80 years. They are the first nation to lose their opening game of the tournament, the first host nation to lose their opening game. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, we the football lovers never expected much from the host nation,
yes,
Qatar, because we all know that Qatar is not a footballing country, and they were actually compensated.
As usual.
Yes. If you host, you come to the World Cup. Because if Qatar went through the qualifying stage, both of us know that they won't be there.
Normal.
So they were just compensated for hosting the World Cup.
Yeah, we saw the first, or rather the second game of this World Cup, England versus
Iran. Yeah.
That ended in 6-2. One of the major thrashings I talked about at the intro of this video. Before Southgate came to England, in the 2014 World Cup, England stopped at the group stage. In the 2016 Euros, they stopped at the round of 16. Now, since Southgate has been in charge of England, 2018 World Cup, they got to the semi-finals, and the last Euros 2020 that was played in 2021 last year, they got to the finals where they lost to Italy on penalties. Can England go one step further? The truth about the matter is that England actually surprised me. I've been telling people that, for me, I feel like England will not even qualify from their group. Do you know why? The tournament they played last before coming to the Nations Cup, England are very poor, losing to Hungary, losing to Italy, and
but let me just prove you wrong. This is the World Cup, not Nations Cup.
That's why I had to drop that stat at the start of this particular conversation about how far they've gone with Southgate. And then this performance will also show us that truly there's a different spirit in this World Cup. But then again, Iran is just Iran.
The thing is that
so in their next game, I'm looking forward to that next game. Let me see if they can beat USA. I don't mean draw, beat them properly, at least 2-3 knots. Yeah, we'll know that we're looking at
to me, England's next match, they are playing United States.
Yes.
And we all know that the match against United States versus the last match they played, which they drew with Wales.
Yeah.
If you watch the attacking prowess of USA, they will endure too much pressure on England.
Yeah.
And for England to concede 2 goals when they played Iran, to me, it's an advantage to United States to attack them.
That particular match for me will be will be the point where I'll say, okay, England will do this or England will not do that. Because personally, since they started playing as poorly as they played in the Nations Cup, I've just kind of written them off. But let's see. Now with the Netherlands game against Senegal, my icon Peter Drury was the commentator for that match, and I was very, very happy to, hear him comment once more from Super Sports, which is where we as Nigerians will watch from. And then Senegal actually put up a good fight, and they eventually lost.
Senegal played well. They put up a good fight, but their key man in that match was missing.
Mane.
Yes, they played a very sweet football.
So, see, to me, I don't even feel like they beat Mane. Honestly, Diatta played very good football.
Not even Diatta. Sarr.
Sarr actually he stood up to the occasion.
Thank you. But the thing is that Senegal was not having that final edge cut in front of the 18 box. That was what they lacked in that match. Because if Mane was there, it should have been a boost for Senegal.
All right. So before we talk about the stats of the Wales-USA game, I just have to underline this. It was in that particular match that I understood that they've changed the possession rules. The way that I don't know if it's for just this World Cup or even after the World Cup it will continue. If you see the possession rules now, you see something like Wales with a particular percentage, and then in the middle, out of context, that is the point where nobody actually was in possession of the ball, and then the other country. Now I'm thinking, does this really make sense? Wales waited 64 years to play in the World Cup again, having only qualified once before in 1958. That is the biggest gap between tournaments of any nation in the history of the competition. And you can't talk about Wales as far as Bale is still available to play. You can't talk about Wales without talking about Gareth Bale. In June of 2022, we saw Gareth Bale scoring the goal that sent Wales to their first World Cup in 64 years. And in November 2022, Gareth Bale scores their first World Cup goal in 64 years.
Wales coming to the World Cup after 64 years, it means a lot to them. Yes. Even to the fans.
There was so much tears on people's face.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And like one of my guys he said some let me not use that word on TV. He said some people will say it's just football. No, but it's not just football.
It's not football.
64 years. I mean, some people have come into this earth and they've gone, and then they've not played World Cup throughout that period. And they are finally here. It means so much to the country, and Wales is a proper footballing nation.
Yes.
So I think they had to feel that way.
We don't need to deliberate more on that, because seeing the fans shedding tears when they were singing the national anthem means a lot to them.
Yes. All right, so let's go to the Tuesday fixtures. On Tuesday, Joka is laughing because Joka is a die-hard Messi fan, and that's why I'm laughing. On Tuesday, we had what we can call the greatest upsets in the history of football. It can be classified under that, where Argentina lost 2-1 to Saudi Arabia. Saudi. My God. Argentina were actually leading in the game. In fact, Joka, what happened to your goat?
Well, should I say my goat was dethroned from his throne?
Do you know how much that meant to Saudi Arabia that their king gave them a public holiday the next day?
The thing is that during that match, or before that match, I told a friend that, you see this match, Argentina will beat Saudi Arabia 6-0 and Messi will come out with an hat-trick. But on the day of the match, I was disappointed.
You were flabbergasted. I cannot entirely blame the coach, because if you look at that match, now look at this stats. Lionel Messi, Martinez. Argentina had 3 goals ruled off for offside in the opening 35 minutes. In the eventual ending of the match, the most offsides in a single World Cup game since VAR was introduced in 2018. 10 Argentina versus Saudi Arabia. Do you think it's really about the coach, or is the fact that the players could not keep themselves onside? And then, aside the fact that they could not keep themselves onside, we have to give praise to where it is due. I was shocked by Saudi Arabia's performance. Like, look at the high line they were playing. Very high, as professional as any big team you can think of. And Argentina fell for the trap countless times. As poor as they performed, you see that your GOAT still he still joined some great names. Only 5 men have scored in 4 different World Cup tournaments. Now Ronaldo's name is on this list because at the time Ronaldo had not played his own game. Pele, Sila, Klose, Ronaldo and Messi. Only 5 men have scored in 4 different World Cups. Now that's a good start for Argentina, but look at this. Going into the game, Cristiano Romero's last 10 games for Argentina, they had not conceded 1 goal in their last 10 games that Romero played. Only for them now to concede these 2, and you see that the sub that the coach had to make was not even Otamendi that is older than Romero. He had to remove Romero himself and put Lisandro Martinez. And personally, when I saw the lineup, I was wondering why Martinez did not start.
The thing is
before you see what I do, I have to say this. When Martinez came to Man U, I was among those that kind of downgraded him. Yeah, I've actually seen short centre backs play. Puyol was just about the height of a little bit taller
was there too. Mascherano too played
a little bit taller than Lisandro. Yeah. These are short men that have done perfectly as centre back. And I was actually not in support of Martinez at first, but I've watched that guy play for United, and his hunger is beyond what I can understand. So how if I cannot see phantom how Martinez did not start that game.
This is football.
For the first time since July 2019, Argentina lost a game, and it was Saudi Arabia that ended that streak. Now we are looking at this. So many people started bringing out this speculation that in 2010 Spain became the first and only team in World Cup history to win the tournament after losing their opening game. Are you among those that believe that this start can come again?
Yes, now for sure.
You believe that's what Spain did?
Yes, for sure.
Now, well, I've not got to that. I wanted to put Germany into this equation, but I've not got to Germany. Let's move on. The longest unbeaten run in men's senior football international, 37, Italy. Italy just made that record few months back, and Argentina 36. If Argentina had not lost this match, they would have tied Italy for 37. Somehow Roberto Mancini is smiling, and you know that Italy didn't even come for the World Cup. Well, that's the much you can take about Argentina, the biggest upset for that particular day. Now Denmark-Tunisia's game ended in 0-0. They were the teams that gave us the first goalless draws of this particular World Cup. And their match was the first match that finished before the 100th minute mark. Now, which brings me to what people have been asking about lately. Why are they adding so much additional time to this particular World Cup games? And the answer is simple. They said these lengthy additions to extra time is simply because a large amount of time is wasted in football and not accounted for. FIFA have instructed that celebrations, substitutions, VAR checks, injuries are fully timed and added on the extra time, hence the lengthy extra time. We have been seeing +9, +11, +8, which usually extra times you just like +3 or +4. So this particular Denmark-Tunisia game was the first match to finish before 100-minute mark as of this particular time now. And then Denmark were also responsible for the first 0-0 at the 2018 World Cup versus France, ending a record 37-game start to a tournament without a goalless draw. And eventually this was the only goalless draw in the whole of 2018 World Cup. In this particular World Cup now, we have had up to 6 goalless games. Do you think these goalless games are as a result of playing this World Cup mid-season?
No.
So, like I said, in 2018
World
Cup,
matches,
there was only one goalless draw. Why are we having match day 1? We have had 6 goalless games.
Yeah, this is a World Cup final, and you can't compare.
2018 was World Cup semi-final.
That was 4 years ago. This is 2022. Many national team has improved.
Honestly, I'm not impressed with that.
It has improved.
Well, speaking of Mexico and Poland, there is a particular player He's not an outfield player though. He only comes up every 4 years. After 4 years, we don't go see him again. Guillermo Ochoa, Mexico's goalkeeper, he has come back again, no? And he saved Lewandowski penalty. That would have been the goal that would have settled that particular match.
Yes.
Like, what do you think about this guy?
Ochoa is a legendary keeper for Mexico.
We are not talking about his legendary status. What I'm asking is, why is it that after World Cup we don't hear about him again?
First of all, you will check which team is he playing for.
There are people playing for weird teams in the US, in China, but we still know where they go.
You said US.
Ochoa has now kept a World Cup clean sheet against Samuel Eto'o's Cameroon, Neymar's Brazil, Thomas Muller's Germany, and Robert Lewandowski's Poland. This guy is the final boss.
He's the fire boss indeed.
Now the last game we are going to talk about, France-Australia. when Australia gave them that goal, everybody were thinking, okay, another upset back to back. Remember that so-called World Cup winners scores I talked about? France won the last World Cup, and the previous 2 winners of the World Cup have gone out to the group stage. So when Australia gave that goal, everybody say, it has started a game. So France is still up there.
France is still up there for the World Cup. Yes.
They are still high contenders.
With the kind of squad they have now, young and vibrant, Mbappe and Dembele. Yeah. Dembele is in mad form currently. Yeah. Very mad form. And them now missing out Benzema. Yeah. Sorry to the France national team. It was a very sad news for them. Yeah. But they still have a man capable for the job, which is Giroud.
Is Giroud the most underrated striker ever?
He is.
Giroud, he has equaled Thierry Henry's record for the most goals scored in the history of the French men's national team, and he has done it in 9 fewer games. I think Giroud has to be the most underrated striker ever.
He is.
They need to give him more accolades. Now we saw Mbappe. He has now scored more World Cup goals for France than any other active player. Let that sink in. Understand what I just said. Yeah.
We shouldn't even go
from
there.
The Australian side, when they were losing, they brought in a very young guy, 18 years of age, Garang Cole. He became the youngest player in Australia's men's national history to be called up for a World Cup
final.
And in January, he'll be joining Newcastle. Away the lads. Away the lads. Joker, I've come to the end of this, your own segment. But for you guys watching, we still have another guest. We'll talk about Wednesday and Thursday's games. So let me thank Joker for honoring the soccer theater and being our guest.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being on set.
See you next time.
My second guest for this particular segment will be walking us through Wednesday and Thursday games. Let's welcome Obinze. Obinze, welcome to the soccer theater.
Thank you very much for having me today.
Yeah. Now we saw Croatia and Morocco play out another goalless game. However, it must be said that Morocco played a very strong. Actually, in the first half, they outplayed Croatia, in my opinion. So, second half, that Croatia started creating chances. How do you see African teams so far?
Okay, so far, the few African nations that has played prior to the last game yesterday.
Yes.
From my own side, they've been performing very well due to the fact that most of their players have been exposed to some of the Europe top 5 leagues. But I think they are still lacking the little cutting edge
to score those goals.
To score goals compared to most of these European sides because of the experience level of the players they have in their teams.
Now, speaking of this settling in you're talking about, we're looking at a Croatia team that has a midfield of Brozovic, Kovacic, and Modric. Brozovic just returning from an injury. Kovacic nursing a knee injury, and Modric is old. Do you think that was also one of the reasons that they were able to stand Croatia?
I feel like these few players you mentioned now, I think they went for the previous World Cup as well. So most of them, their age compared to the young side of the Moroccan team.
Yeah. Now after this match, we saw another shocker just after Saudi Arabia won Argentina. Japan, they came and they took the game to. Actually, in the first half, Japan was actually outplayed. They were just struggling to, if that second goal had entered, the same thing happened in Argentina's match. they had a second goal as of 1-0. They scored 2-0 and the goal was called off. The same thing happened for Germany. Havertz scored a goal just before halftime. It was ruled off, and then they came back to now lose that game against Japan. Now Germany have lost as many World Cup group stage games in their last 4 matches. That they've lost 3 as they did during the 8 tournaments between 1986 to 2014 combined. Now this loss, do you actually blame Germany or do you commend Japan?
Without any doubt, we have to commend the winning team. Yeah. Because in my opinion, the winning team is the better team. I feel like Germany didn't take Japan too serious. They felt like it's a matter of time before the second goal will come.
Yes, because they were creating chances actually.
And even while they were leading, they had to switch formation. They went to 3 at the back, and I think that might have boosted Japan's courage
confidence,
in the game.
Yes. Exactly. That 3 at the back, so I want to talk about. Why are you leading 1-0 and you are switching to 3 at the back? You are now putting Sule, Rudiger and the other guy. You are now bringing Hoffman to move to the right. Why not stick to? They were actually playing better then.
I feel like most coaches, I know this is the World Cup and they shouldn't underestimate anything.
There's no chance to gamble anything. Play what you know.
Some coaches, I feel like they will learn from their lessons from the first match.
Yes, and improve.
They will learn from their mistakes.
So like Argentina now, do you think Germany can improve, seeing as the other people in their group are also strong contenders?
Germany, they have to. They have to.
They have Spain in that group.
Even if they don't want to, they have to, because with the like of Spain being their second feature, there's almost a certainty that if they lose the game, they're out of the competition.
Speaking of Spain Costa Rica ended in 7-0. The second big thrashing I talked about at the introduction. This is not what I want to say at the World Cup game. Why would Costa Rica do what they did to qualify and you are receiving 7-0? Can't even. Let me even shock you. Costa Rica did not have one shot in that match, like one shot on target. There is no recorded shot on target. It's a very poor result. Anyways, we saw Gavi. Gavi is the youngest player in World Cup history to score for Spain at the tournament at 18 years and 110 days old. Spain's 7-0 win against Costa Rica is their largest victory in a World Cup history. Now, the last game on Wednesday was Belgium versus Canada, and by everything, I have to tell you that was the most lively game of football I've seen in a very long time. Canada completely took the game to Belgium. If you watch that match, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, 100%. I agree with you 100%, because the Canadian side they didn't come out as the underdogs. They came out as a big team, and I think for the first 20-30 minutes of the game, before they considered the first goal, even after missing the penalty that would have been their first World Cup goal ever.
Yes.
Alfonso Davies missed the penalty. Aside from the penalty, they still had the game in control.
Yeah, speaking of that penalty miss, Canada failed to score a goal in all 4 of their World Cup games. They became only the 3rd team to do so after that many matches. They were very desperately unlucky in that match.
Yes.
Because they really took the game to Belgium.
They didn't have the cutting edge.
But like you said, na team wey win na him be the better team.
Yes, the better team.
We have to commend what's the striker's name now? Batshuayi's goal. That's one touch stop, the flash shot.
It was not his pass, but as an experienced striker that he is, he went for the ball
and he scored that goal.
Was able to convert his chance.
That led them to the victory. Now, only 2 teams in men's World Cup history have won 8 consecutive group stage games. That is Brazil and Belgium. If Belgium wins their next game, they will break that streak and now win 9 consecutive group stage games. That is for Belgium. And then on Canada's part, we saw a 39-year-old Achiba Hutchinson. He became the oldest outfield player at the 2022 World Cup. This particular World Cup. This Alfonso Davies, do you feel he should have been the one to take that penalty when you had Jonathan David there?
No, Jonathan had a very good penalty record coming into that game.
And
But I feel like I said, most coaches will learn from their lessons in the first games.
The Switzerland-Cameroon game on Thursday, the last match day of the match week, ended in Switzerland's favour, 1-0. Now, at this point, 4 African countries had played and none had scored a goal.
Very disappointing. Very disappointing that they all came to the World Cup and it's like they are not serious.
And then we are now looking forward to Ghana's play. Speaking of not scoring a goal, Cameroon's last 7 World Cup games, they've lost their last 7 World Cup games. Now, if they lose all 3 group stage games this particular World Cup, they will break Mexico's record for the longest losing streak in the tournament's history. That is really an unwanted record. And at this point, that is before the Ghana's game, 4 of the 5 African sides have failed to score in the opening game of the 2022 World Cup. They've played 44 shots, only 12 on target, and none of them managed to score. That is a very poor record from African sides.
Yes.
Now, moving forward, we saw Uruguay and Korea. They played another goalless game.
I didn't expect that from that game. We all know that Son is like the best player in the South Korea side, but Uruguay had a lot of experienced players.
You have Cavani.
They had a lot of experienced players. They should have been able to create chances in the game.
We've talked about one goat being fried and being roasted by the Arabians. Now let's talk about another goat that in his interview, speaking of the interview, we have it on the Soccer Theatre. If you've not seen the breakdown, you can
Go to the
look
previous
for
videos.
it now. This is the link up here. This Ronaldo, in his interview with Press, he said he doesn't chase records chase him, and you can see such records such as Ronaldo being the first European to play in 10 major men's international tournaments, and eventually during the match, Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro became the first man in World Cup history to score in 5 different tournaments. You're a Ronaldo fan, right?
Yes, I am, without any doubt.
But during his whole controversy, you people left him hanging.
There are times like that.
There are times like that.
And
but we are happy to see him score yesterday.
yes, that was it's a very good record for him. It's a very good record for him.
Now, he also won the man of the match in that particular game. And somebody before this World Cup kicked off was telling me that Ronaldo in international duty does not perform well. He doesn't perform well and you're winning. Remember what I said in that my breakdown? I said, if Ronaldo eventually does well in this World Cup, believe everything he said about Ten Hag. Let's keep watching. He has won the most official man of the match awards in World Cup history. He's now having the highest, 7. 6 by Lionel Messi and Arjen Robben. Like he said, he doesn't chase records, the records chase him. And now we also see Rafael Leao. He scored his first ever goal for Portugal 3 minutes after coming on for his World Cup debut. Personally, I feel Rafael Leao should be a starter.
Yeah, like I said, he's the opponent.
I don't really rate that João Felix.
And João Felix is also a good player. He's also a good player without any doubt.
And
I feel like the Portuguese team, they have a lot of attackers, so it's all left for the coach to decide who he feels should be able to break down the opponent they are playing for that very day.
Okay. The last game of the match week was Brazil versus Serbia. Actually, Serbia has a very good attacking side with the likes of Mitrovic and Tadic, and people were actually feeling that okay, they could shock Brazil, but in the end, quality prevailed. Brazil won 2-0, and Brazil's record since losing to Argentina in the Copa America final, they have won, they've drawn a little, they've scored 40 goals, they've conceded just 5, and they've kept 11 clean sheets. That's how good Brazil is. Do you see them as a favourite for winning the World Cup?
Yeah, good record for that side. Brazil, before coming into this World Cup, I think Brazil is the favourite for winning the competition.
To you or to everybody?
I feel to everyone.
Who do you
Personally, I'm okay with Brazil winning the competition. I see them as the strongest side. Before we can start putting into consideration upsets in the competition.
All right, so 6 players have scored multiple goals at the 2022 World Cup just for the first matches. Olivier Giroud scored 2. They all scored 2 actually braces, like I said earlier. 6 players with a brace. Olivier Giroud, Enner Valencia, Bukayo Saka. Speaking of Saka, I didn't even talk about Saka in England's game. He performed very wonderfully well. Mehdi Taremi, Ferran Torres of Spain, and Richarlison. Now, when Richarlison was picked for
The starting 11.
actually, when he was even picked for the squad entirely, he was out of action for Tottenham at the time, and I was surprised why are they picking somebody that is on injury. But I think we can see the relevance now.
Yes.
This comes back to what we've saying about is the coach that knows why he's carrying certain players.
Yes, that's very correct because we
can just sit down here and talk.
A lot of fans opted out for Firmino because of his form of recent with Liverpool, but the coach had confidence in Richarlison and felt like Richarlison would be able to give him what he wants up front, and I'm happy for Richarlison for proving his doubters wrong.
So from this list of people that have scored braces so far, do you think the golden boot winner will come from any of these persons?
Definitely. Brazil being one of the very strong team in the competition, as much as Richarlison is always there in their starting level, I feel like the balls will come to him.
Alright, so some general stats from the match day 1. The most shots by any player came from Kylian Mbappe. The most chances created by any player was Antoine Griezmann. Griezmann surprised me in that match. Griezmann played beautifully well. The most tackles has come from Milenkovic Savic of Serbia. The most takeons has come from Ghana's Kudus. Most possession won has come from Modric. The same Modric says an old man who was actually doing most of the clearing, most of the mopping up for Croatia in that match. And the most passes has come from Laporte. Best player at the 2022 World Cup so far for you is who? So far, who do you feel is the best player? So considering all the games, not just the ones we talked about, who do you feel has done well?
I think several players have actually done well, and I can't just bring out one player and
can't
say
just pinpoint one person.
Yes, a lot of players, in my own opinion, have done well for their sides. The likes of Bruno with the assist against the Portugal side, Modric, like you said.
Of course, you will call Bruno.
Modric, as he said, Modric was able to help his team out. Saka for England as well.
Yeah, Saka did very well.
Saka made a very good performance for his side. Xavi and Pedri also, like you mentioned, for Spain, they had a very good game in the match.
That's all right. Thank you very much for coming on the Soccer Theatre today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Some other time.
Definitely.
Yes, and for you that's watching, if you are able to watch up to this point, thank you very much. And if you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Share this video for your friends that would enjoy this content, and
we'll see you some other time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.